Have you ever wanted to get into the Ivy League? Have you dreamed of the successful life you'd have if you did so? Have you watched hundreds of thousands of videos trying to find an answer to the age-old question of, how do I get in? And never found one? Well, sit back, relax, and take it all in. Because you're about to learn how to do just that here today. But before we get there, let me tell you a quick story. If you haven't watched this video right here, I highly suggest you pause here, watch that video, and come back to this video to get a full background on different types of schools and the type of students each school tends to accept. However, as a quick refresher, the different school types are Humanities Havens, schools that specialize in humanities and tend to accept students interested in those fields; Technology Towns, schools who specialize in the STEM fields and tend to accept students who are interested in STEM as well; Political Science Paradises, schools who specialize in political science and the social sciences and tend to accept students who are interested in those fields; and finally, Business Boroughs, schools who are dedicated to their business schools and accept students interested in business and the finance spaces. Similar to that, on the student side, there are 5 common student types, those being the STEM Scholar, a student whose resume is peppered and colored by their passion for and participation in the STEM fields; the Humanities Intellectual, a student whose extracurricular experience in high school is dominated by their experiences in the humanities; the Sharp Social Scientist, a student obsessed with the social sciences and spends most of their time exploring that particular passion; the Professional Polymath, a student who's interested in a number of different subjects, extracurriculars, and does them all very well; and then finally, the Athletic Academic, an athletic student whose resume is mostly composed of their athletic achievements and accomplishments. Now, Princeton is a political science paradise, so the advice given in this video will be the best advice any student should apply if they hope to get not only into Princeton, but similar schools like it as well. With all that being said, here's the strategy and advice each type of student can use to get into a school like Princeton. We're going to look at what it takes for each archetype of student to get into a school like Princeton and what they would need to do each year, starting from their freshman year, going all the way to the winter of their senior year, to have the best chance of getting in. STEM scholars, unlike humanities intellectuals or sharp social scientists, get a boost in their odds of applying to a school no matter where they apply to. In the case of Princeton, they, on average, get a 1.42 multiplier on their odds of making it into the school, which increases their odds from 5.5% to 7.81%. This is a fairly significant increase in their odds of making it into the school. In other words, their odds jump from about a 1 in 18 chance of making it to Princeton to about a 1 in 13 chance of making it into this school. Now let's take a look at what a person needs to do, starting from their freshman year, to be that one person out of 13 who does in fact make it into Princeton. The cool summer breeze washes over your skin as you count down your final days of summer. It's the summer before your freshman year, and while you don't want summer to end just yet, you're excited to begin high school and start something new. As I mentioned before when discussing sharp social scientists and humanities intellectuals, freshman year is where the college race truly starts. The actions you take your freshman year will compound and give you a much better chance of getting into the school of your dreams, or will make those dreams much, much harder to achieve. This year, for all students, is about exploration. This means that you should stay open-minded about the different classes you're taking, looking to see which, if any, you find interesting and figure out the things you don't want to do. Once you're able to answer that question, it becomes much easier to figure out what you actually do want to do. Some important questions you'll want to answer during this time are: 1. Which fields do I find most interesting? Is it math and sciences or the humanities and social sciences? 2. Are there any sports that interest me enough into committing to them for a full season for a number of years in order to make a varsity position and qualify for a leadership role? Figuring these two things out at this point in your high school career will give you a massive leg up over the competition and place you in a phenomenal position to succeed later on in your high school career. Now fast forward to the summer after your freshman year and you're a little clearer about what you want to do. You know that you like math and science, aren't too keen on the humanities and social sciences, and are not interested in participating in a sport for a number of years in your high school career. With that information down, you head into your sophomore year. Now you're a sophomore. You're not a rookie anymore. You're not quite a veteran of the school, but you know your way around and are familiar with how the school works, are friendly with some of the teachers at the school, and have a much better of your place in this school environment. This year, however, things are getting a bit more serious. You figured out that you like math and science more than the humanities and social sciences and decide to focus on that. The benefit of being a STEM scholar is that you have a lot of room to figure yourself out and figure out what you want as compared with the humanities intellectual and the sharp social scientist. You can try your hand at a number of different STEM classes, math, biology, chemistry, physics, forensic science, etc., figuring out what you want and what you don't want so that you're in a much better position and have a much clearer idea of where you're going by the end of your junior year. If a student is leaning towards becoming a STEM scholar at this stage in their high school career, they need to ask themselves 3 critical questions before the end of this year. 1. Is there a particular STEM discipline I gravitate to? 2. If I am interested in the STEM fields, which classes do I need to take next year to put myself in a good academic position heading into my senior year? 3. Which STEM extracurriculars can I do and commit to starting in my sophomore year so that I can attain leadership positions in those clubs by the fall of my senior year? Answering these 3 questions will set a student up for maximum success when they truly start the college application process in the winter of their senior year. After a fairly relaxed summer hanging out with friends and traveling with friends and family, we're back in school for the autumn of your junior year. Now, out of all years in the high school career, the junior year of a STEM scholar's high school career is the most important. During this year, they have a number of questions to answer, things to complete, and places to visit before the start of their senior year. During this year, we advise all STEM scholar students applying to the schools of an elite caliber like Princeton to take AP level classes in a number of fields, if possible. Courses like AP Calculus, AB or BC, AP Statistics, AP Chemistry, AP Biology, AP Environmental Science, etc. all fit this bill and are fantastic academic coursework for a high school student's resume. Beyond that, students who are of this archetype need to focus heavily on securing leadership positions in extracurriculars they're participating in. This will be what truly separates those who will ultimately get into the elite schools they want and those who will be frozen out of them. Now let's fast forward to the spring of your junior year. At this point, you're rounding the corner headed towards the final destination, the winter of your senior year. During this time, a student should set themselves up early so that they're in a good position to be off to the races once they start their applications in the fall. Just like for the humanities intellectuals and sharp social scientists, this entails asking for recommendations from the teachers you want early, usually in the spring of your junior year, touring the schools that you're interested in that spring or the summer for your senior year, and taking the SAT at least 2 times before the end of the summer before your senior year, and starting the writing process of writing the initial drafts of your common application essays before you enter school that fall. With all this in place, we can fast forward to the summer after your junior year where everything is taken into account. This summer is the most important summer for every single type of student, and this is no different for STEM scholars. Your goal for this summer is to finalize your application essays and do extensive research on the schools you're looking to apply to. By doing this, you'll be in a fantastic position to capitalize on the one thing that'll be key for you getting into Princeton: early admission. As mentioned before, I could do an entire video speaking on this point in time in a student's application alone. But what matters is that you've completed as much as possible of your application to these various schools, or at least set yourself up to do so for the autumn of your senior year. Finally, we enter the fall of your senior year of high school. Here's where we can go into the nitty-gritty as it relates to a specific strategy when applying to Princeton as a STEM scholar. Now it's finally the autumn of your senior year of high school, a time when everything you did in the previous 3 years of high school come into play. Before this point, everything you did was simply set up to help put you in the position to get into Princeton. Now let's talk about how you'll actually get in. The first thing you'll want to do is apply early. Applying early is your best friend. I cannot stress this enough. Students who apply early, especially those who are among the top level applications to a given school, get a tremendous boost in terms of their odds of making it to the school they want. Let me explain how. Looking online, the accepted early application acceptance rate for Princeton hovers right around 15%. Now, do you know what the regular application acceptance rate is? Less than 3%. These two wildly differing numbers is why a student who is interested in going to an Ivy League school needs to apply early to that school. They get a substantial increase in their odds of getting in because there are simply fewer people to compete with. And thus, there's more of a chance that your application can wow the admissions officers and get those critical yes spots before the regular application round. The next thing all STEM scholars should do if they want to be the 1 out of 13 STEM scholars who apply to Princeton and get in is focus on showing their achievement and, more importantly, their learning experiences in their application essays. This is critical. As a STEM scholar, what schools are looking for from you is achievement. The competitions you won, accolades you received, and the goals you've set for yourself and ultimately achieved. But more importantly, what a school like Princeton is looking for is continued growth. Princeton is looking for people who can grow with the university and contribute back to it in some way. This is the critical distinction between what Princeton is looking for and what many students do. A number of STEM scholars I've personally coached have no problem speaking on and writing about their individual and group achievements. However, what they rarely show is the things they've learned from such experiences and how they've grown from them. This is what separates the good applications from the great ones. In great applications, applicants show exactly what they've learned from the experiences they document in their stories, and how Princeton will help them continue to grow further. The third and final thing a STEM scholar should do to give themselves the best odds of getting into Princeton is highlight their leadership ability and potential throughout their application. Just like with demonstrating the capacity for growth and improvement, demonstrating leadership and the ability to be a mentor to a group of people goes a long way on a college application. In the STEM space, there are ample opportunities to be a leader, as a number of activities and groups often have captains, officers, and people in charge of running different groups. As Princeton prides itself on being a school that cultivates the next generation of future leaders, demonstrating leadership ability will definitely catch the eye of admissions at the school and help show them, in no uncertain terms, that you belong there. I could use an entire video breaking down this particular strategy even more, as there are a number of things a STEM scholar could do to improve their application even further. If you'd like to see that, leave a comment below letting me know, and I'll be sure to make a video diving even deeper into this particular topic. But in broad terms, the 3 steps for getting into Princeton are as follows. Step 0. Set yourself up for success. This step is the step that gives you a fighting chance of being considered in the first place by a university like Princeton and getting your foot in the door, so to speak. This means that a student needs to have taken and done fairly well on the SAT, taken a few, if not more, STEM-based AP tests and scored well on them, and also participated in eye-catching clubs and extracurriculars that'll make them stand out long before they ever start to apply to college. This step is the most important step and helps put a student in a good position for the following steps. Step 1. Apply early. This applies to all students who want to get into a particular school in the Ivy League. If you have a dream school that you'd like to go to, make sure that you apply early to that school. There are a number of benefits that come from applying early, but the main one is that your odds of getting into a school like Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale can increase by 5, 6, or even 7-fold by simply applying early. Every student should capitalize on this advantage by putting themselves in a position to apply early with a stellar application. Step 2. Focus on achievement and learning experiences. Princeton, like all elite schools, are looking for students who have the potential for a bright future. Showing your past achievement while also highlighting your ability to learn from your past and use it positively to affect your future is the perfect way of doing this. And finally, step 3. Highlight your leadership ability. This last step is the cherry on top of a STEM Scholar application. It's what takes a good application and makes it truly extraordinary. The reason for this is because, as mentioned before, Princeton is a school that prides itself on cultivating the next generation of future leaders. Thus, finding a student who can demonstrate that they can do this and do it effectively is something that will catch the eye of any university, especially one like Princeton. If you're a STEM scholar, following those 3, 4 including step 0, will give you a substantial increase in your odds of getting into Princeton. While this video did go somewhat in depth into this topic, I recommend taking a look at some of the helpful links in the description box below, as it contains some helpful material that goes much deeper into this topic than I could do so here. If you'd like me to make a video diving even deeper into these subjects and the strategies for this type of student, just leave a comment below letting me know and I'll be sure to make one. Now let's move on to the professional polymath.